Oh, you gotta love this volatility. Okay, I am back. Without further ado, we will get started. Boy, we're still 8 minutes out and it's just all over the place. But, obviously a lot of that's just because it's so thin. If you look at the order book right now, I just put up another dome that has the order book on it, that we're down in below 50 on almost all levels. Some levels have less than 10 or right at, double digits. That's really low. So anyway, we will put this other one that has less to watch on it. And there we go. Just traded volume. The liquidity is just being mapped. All right. So we're going to kick off. Welcome, everybody. Most folks here are either TRG or friends of TRG, or they've taken a TRG tick maker course or what have you. So I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time introducing myself or my co-host here, JVC.
Hello.
Community manager. And basically today we are going to trade the reaction to whatever the Fed does. And it's a real extremes kind of trade. This is not something you're looking to do like 1 or 2 or 3 tick drills on. It's just, obviously, as I was just saying a minute ago, it's really thin. So the market will move around a lot. But there's patterns in the extreme movements. So we'll look to see if we can game them. Some of you, if you haven't been around before, you're looking at 3 different platforms on my main screen. There's a couple of other monitors I'm watching some other stuff on, but this is mainly what I watch. The TPO is on the far left for the 4 indexes, a very fast kind of equivolume and zigzag volume view of ES and NQ. Similarly, a delta footprint view of ES and NQ. This is Sierra chart, that's Ninja, this is Sierra. And then everything to the right of that is Jigsaw. And that's where I execute most of my trades because it's a really good platform for that. And we're also seeing the ES liquidity as well as the NQ dome and the ES dome. And to the right are the micros. But I think, for this type of trading, I think what I'm going to do, I'm not going to play with micros. I'm turned off my trade copier and all the other fun stuff that could give us grief. And what we'll do is we'll just play with a couple of minis. Which will be on this dome right here, and I'll be using that trade window right there. And I've got this in just kind of an account that I'm not terribly concerned about small wins or losses in. Let's put it that way. And like I said, I've turned off my copier, and a lot of times, I copy up to 7 accounts at the same time. And so things can get a little tricky, but for the purposes of extremes like this, if we can get a fill at a good edge of, let's say the number comes out and, what's going to happen? So look, they're going to do their release and there's going to be a narrative that goes with it. And everybody's going to be scanning that, looking for keywords, and their computers are all going to be ripping through, analyzing that. And then we're going to have about a half an hour of price discovery, and then the press conference is going to start. And so that half an hour price discovery often tests extremes. So if you look at the 30-minute structural view, again, this one is in Sierra chart. If you look at that, this is the overnight session on the far right, the Globex, and then since regular trading hours opened, we're pretty balanced here with most of the volume just below us. You can see where the initial balance was. It's the blue line. We're just above. Well, we're kind of in the middle now. We just took out the initial balance low a little while ago. There's some, is there still unfinished business down there? No, it looks like that got finished. Yeah. So, it's a reasonably clean looking bottom. The last rotation down, whatever period that was, we had a kind of price rejector pattern. So, this reasonably stable spots. Obviously the extremes are going to be up here somewhere. And, the first one will be the low of regular trading, but probably much more significant will be the overnight low if we go that way, or certainly this volume right here, this big chunk of high volume. So there's a lot to work with here. These are pretty big ranges. The 24-hour range, the Globex range, as of right now is almost 60 points on ES. That's a decent range. Although lately we've had a couple of hundred on some days, so it's worth watching. In general, the market kind of opened stronger than it is right now, which again is kind of typical on FOMC day. Just bring this over from one of the other monitors. This is just the internals for the day and the last couple of days. And, we've had a bunch of really extreme advanced decline selling and whatnot. And today opened pretty strong and just, kind of pulled back into normal range after, like I said, a bunch of days of just crushing, extremes of the advanced decline. So, again, there's an argument this is a spot for a bounce, particularly if, whatever is announced is pretty much already priced in, which is generally the assumption I operate under. So that's why I like trading the extremes. They tend to be the spots where you can play with good odds. The other thing that I might play, although it's hard to do when it's this thin and when the market's in price discovery, is joining really strong momentum. Maybe let's say something surprises the market positively and we just start rocking and rolling to the upside. Well, I'm already long with some of the triple ETFs on a swing trade, but that's a trade I might, take the futures and, see if I could catch a ride up. Certainly, the top of the recent range, look where we are now, 79.50. I mean, certainly another 100 points up doesn't even get us out of this little trough we just made. So, is there potential for kind of an island reversal low here? And, we gap up and go back to 4,300 or whatever? Absolutely. I'm not saying that's going to happen, but that's a really good trade to be in if it does happen. So that's why I'm in the ETFs for that. Don't have to manage it quite so tough, can scale in and out over a period of days. And anyway, so we're going to get the release in about 2 minutes. So again, if I see something interesting, I'll trade it. I'm not just going to trade to trade. This is a fun session to just kind of watch the price discovery happening. And, but if something tasty shows up, we'll certainly not hesitate to trade it. It's open Q&A on this topic or pretty much anything else. Please put questions in the chat if you have them. And try to put some context in a question if you ask one. Don't just say, did you do that because of the blah, blah, blah? Say, did I do what? Explain, because it might be a couple minutes before we get back to the questions. And that way we'll know what you were talking about because things change quickly. So give us a reference, price, timestamp, specifically what are you asking about? And then we'll get back to you as quick as we can. Anywho, so that's what's up. Let's see. I'll leave my kind of fast price action views up here for now as we watch the price discovery. And then if it at all looks structurally interesting, then I'll pop this open. And again, the first volume profile closest to the footprints is regular trading. And then it's the Globex to the right of it. So, we can kind of see where the extremes are. And when we get there, whether it's leaving unfinished business or whatnot. So, okay, one more minute and the market has a bid under it. Look at that. Probably shorts just getting out of the way in case, there's some positive surprise. That wouldn't stun me at all. That's one of the reasons I'm long is just for that phenomenon. It's typical. Oh, the other thing that's really typical is whatever happens today, if it's an extreme move, is overwhelmingly likely to reverse tomorrow. So just keep that in mind. That pattern has gone on for all 49 years I've traded, and it's a really reliable pattern, particularly if there's a really big move one way today and not just a lot of, two-way action. Boy, look at that. We're all of a sudden at the bottom of the range in a heartbeat as we hit 11. So let's see what happens here. This is clearly price discovery and it's so thin. This is just the algorithms trading with each other. Yes, exactly, Amy. Game the scenarios. The only one I'm really interested in doing, I will join really crazy momentum up, which right now we have, but it has to be likely to continue, and this isn't. It's making a big giant range. So let's kind of see how the top of that's leaving a bunch of zero prints. Obviously, aggression does that, but we're way up. There's 3,800 already. So if the initial reaction to the market is long, that could be just short covering, or it could truly be, some people buying. It's probably both. But, until it actually gets priced in and the computers finish reading the announcement and we hear the press conference, which, can put a totally different spin on it, this is likely to happen. Look at that. Now we're all the way back down at the VWAP and at 80. So we just dropped 20 handles, or 80 ticks in not even a minute. Let's go back to this. So these are 15-second bars here. And look at that motion. That's 30 seconds up and 45 seconds down. I'm not going to jump in front of this freight train just yet. But, we're getting close to an extreme low. That could be an interesting place to buy right here. Maybe just a little lower. Let's see if it blows that low, maybe catch an entry down here. There we go. All right. So I just bought, what is that, 61? See if we can protect that. Oh, good. We got a nice runner going here. Look at that. It's trading. Oh, wow. I'm long from 61. It just traded 76. This is just a one lot, but it's $600 right now. $700 right there. Let's keep this stop tight so we don't give much of this back if it pulls back. And I'm just basically doing a manual take profit stop. And I just put it real tight there at 80 because that's where it reversed last time. So that was pretty cool. We're in that trade for what? Let's see, duration 29 seconds. That was a one lot for $975 with an MAE of 2. So how about that? Was that fun, JVC, or what?
Quite fun. I am actually still in one.
Good
that
for
I
you.
am almost out of. Oops. There we go. Now I'm out.
Good. Hey,
Yeah.
This is a beautiful action to play. You have both ways, even. The only place I don't want to trade this action is right here in the middle. That's the only place you can really get burned. I mean, that we just saw how fast you can get burned. But the point is, if you're playing it in extreme, it doesn't really matter which one it is. If you're wrong, it'll be obvious pretty quickly. Like an MAE of 2. So I entered that with a market order, and it never went more than 2 ticks against me. And, do the math. How many ticks did it go from 61 to 81? 20 points, 80 ticks. So, that's a pretty good ratio. And you can plan the idea, but you kind of got to just execute. I don't want to say when it feels right, but when the blink is right. For those of you who know the book Blink, and we talk about blinks a lot in TRG. So, boy, we've played both ends of this range very aggressively. And this makes me, wonder that the press conference could really even more increase this volatility. We could push both ends of the range again. So I'm looking for buying the low again here, but I'm not going to be too aggressive because clearly, we got back down here after we traded off of it so quick. So right now, sellers are running the show for the very short term, but I still like this area. That might be a good spot there. That's a little bit, I missed it. I tried to use a limit. I'm notorious for using limits and missing by 2 ticks, and that just happened again, but I think it's going to push down here. We should fill on this one. There we go. All right. So now we're long again. Let's just see if we can grab a scalp on this one. I'm not going to necessarily look to get rich on these. There we go. That was nice. That was 125 on a one lot. So another, 8, 9, 10 ticks. Whoa. See, that's why you take profits fast because, the bottom just got swept out. And now the range is getting extended. This is a really good learning point. We are no longer holding the bottom. We're in range extension down, and this could go on forever. You don't want to fade this or necessarily, fade in this case would be buying it until it clearly has established some sort of reason for you to do that. And, before we had this big high volume node down here. Well, we've departed from that, or at least we're heading back that way. But see, you got to be careful when it breaks a range and you get that much extension because it's just so thin. Somebody goes and dumps a 500 lot and we could be, this is 52 here. We could be at 32, really quickly. So don't get too ambitious, and take profits quickly is always a good idea. So anyway, I'm going to let this settle down a little more. It's getting a little two-way. The beauty, what you want to be looking for is either inflection points where it turns, where I did the first trade, and then that second one, you just want to look for when the range is tightening up, and that those are good for scalps. And those are one's kind of an intraday swinging idea, and the second one is kind of a scalp idea. And they're both legitimate in this action, but under these conditions where it's going both ways, it's really hard to do either of those. That's why I'm now sitting on my hands. We haven't established a bottom yet here. And, it's still extending range. NQ just pushed its low. Let me show you the 30 footprint again. I'm watching it on another monitor too. But basically, it's leaving unfinished business at the low here. So, we're probably going to go likely lower. There's a lot of momentum down, obviously. Look at the blocks. So I wouldn't be shocked if we went lower, and I'm still not interested in getting long down here again under this type of action. It's just too sweepy in both directions. A 10-point sweep, it's really hard even, if you have a quick profit to take it, as, contrast with that swing I took at 61 or whatever, that just immediately went profitable, and I couldn't move my stop up under it fast enough. Very, very different conditions now. So the easy money is over from the announcement, and now the computers are going to play games with each other again for a while. We're pushing lower really aggressively. Look at that. Maybe we will make a bottom down here. Let's see. Getting closer to the overnight low. Let's see what it does with that. It's coming up right there. So that's definitely the next spot it should blow through here. And that might be worth nibbling long once it does that. Let's see how it handles that bottom. Okay, it ran some stops just now. You can see that right there. So that's probably a short-term low, but God, it's just so sweepy. Sweeping back and forth. There's a real nice upsweep. If it just continues to sweep up, I'll probably join this again, but it's not doing that. It's going both ways. So just too hard to manage risk under that condition. Could probably scalp some longs here now. That's a less risky trade than it was a few seconds ago. Maybe a retest of 50 might be interesting. Let's see what happens. Just because it's a half a whole number, but with the press conference coming up, I wouldn't get real bold here. Here we go. I'm about to get filled. I did. Let's just see if we can grab a movement back up toward 55 on this one and give it a little bit of room, but not too much on the downside. I'm prepared to get out of the way really fast if the bottom falls out here, but it looks like it's getting bought again. Yeah, it is. Enough that I can make a little money here. Let's be prepared to take profits fast there. Okay, got that one too. So again, the extremes are where the action is. But, you have to understand the definition of extreme changes over time. And with the energy, whether it's, two-way energy, one-way energy, if there's some evidence that, there's buyers down there or sellers at the other end, and clearly we're finally finding a spot where there's some evidence of buyers. Let's go back to this view here. It's still energy down, but it's diminishing in momentum. And this is something, there's a document in the pit that I refer to all the time for just my scalping technique. I'm just going to pop it up real quick just as a reference so you understand what I'm talking about. Most of you in TRG have seen this. Let's see, where is that? Oh, process. I think it's in here. There it is. Yeah, this is the document I'm referring to. And, the elements of the decisions that I'm making. And, I've talked about sweeps and, the change in the energy, how is momentum changing? Well, that's what I'm talking about right here. And what's happening is, blow this up and this is really all you need to be looking at. What's going on? Well, for the moment, that low looks decent, and now the delta is on the other side of the tape. But, that could just be people taking profits from the last push down. But, for the moment, that's a tradable low. So again, that's why at that point I started nibbling again. But when the energy was this, push down, push down, push down, that changed when the delta rolled over here and stayed rolled over. And now we're staying on the positive side. But conversely, we're on the other end of the range now here. That was the bottom of the range, and that's the top of the range. And, if the sellers are going to reassert themselves, this is probably where it's going to happen. And that looks like that's happening right there. So then there it goes. So that's why, just looking at the range under very short term, these are just regressions of the short term action, are really helpful to game where it is and if you're at an extreme or not. And then, of course, if you know how to read a footprint chart, understanding that, when it's this sweepy, the structure is a little less reliable because, it takes a little time for structure to play out. But just for example, that we tested and held the Globex low, the overnight low, that's a very significant structural event. And that just happened to coincide with a very significant price action event, which I just showed you, where, the momentum diminished. And so that just gives you a really good spot to look for a scalp the other way without taking a lot of risk and without just, catching falling knives. The knife stopped falling there long enough that you could make some money with it. And, I don't just recommend doing that willy-nilly. You got to look for that set of conditions to be that way to do that. But so far, again, it's holding. So this, and I think we're going to see that as the press conference goes on. We'll probably fill in all this volume here between the low we just made and, the higher volume up here. We'll probably fill that in. And then, we'll see. Maybe the ranges get there, the edges get played again. They're going to be looking at people's facial expressions when questions are going to be answered, and what color tie Powell's wearing, and the last time he changed his underwear, and whatever else they think is significant. So anyway, let's see. Just going back to the comments. Good job, JVC. Yeah, this is fun. Oh yeah, Amy. That happens to me a lot, particularly when I use limit orders, and yeah, and you've seen that happen hundreds of times in my live sessions. I'll miss a perfect entry by 2 ticks, and it'll go 80 points the other way because I was sitting in a limit order or I wasn't fast enough to respond. And that's one of the reasons I I'll put a limit order on, but if it's anywhere near it and I see the trade setting up, I'll just go ahead and hit the market and eat whatever couple of ticks difference there might be. And I did do that on this one because it didn't get to my limit this time either. I just said, screw it, canceled the limit and hit the market. That was the one at 61. So can't complain. We got a good chunk out of that one. Oh yeah, I remember the Bernanke briefcase, and they used to do that with what's his face, the guy with the big glasses, Greenspan, Alan Greenspan. Is that him? Yeah.
Yep. Him and the Bernanke.
Yeah.
I like the Bernanke.
Yep. Yeah, they were both really good at doing the media and sitting there, for Q&A with all the just, some of the politicians are completely retarded. I mean, it's amazing anybody voted for them. They have no idea how the Fed or the economy works, and they ask these absurd questions. And, Bernanke was genius, and so was Greenspan. It just, well, Senator, they act like it's an important question, and it's really just bullshit. And they keep repeating the same answer over and over again. And, but today the press conference is a little bit different. They have a little more control over their messaging. And so we'll see. This is no man's land here. Again, we're in the middle. We just took out the initial balance low on the session. That's this other blue line here. So, so that's in play again. So, from a structural point of view, we took out a significant low. We went down to the next most significant low, meaning the Globex low that I just showed you a second ago. That was this. And that held. And now we're back up here, back up in the middle of the middle, which, that's where you'd expect it to be once it gets done exploring. That's basically how the auction that the market works. So anyway, let's see. What time is it? I'm just looking at my clock, and so 15 minutes or so to the press conference. So here's what we'll do for this session. I mean, that was the first really fun part that we just saw, and then the next fun part is the press conference, which goes for a little bit, and it starts at the bottom of the hour. And basically, we'll see how that goes. And when we're getting closer to the top of the hour, so about 45 minutes from now, we'll probably wrap up. That's an hour before the close of regular trading hours on the New York. But, if it's really crazy, we'll go longer. I've already had a really good day trading across the board. And I've also been trading since before the open. I was trading during the night a bit. So I'm a little tired, but not too tired to keep doing what we're doing. So anywho. If anybody has any questions or comments they'd like me to talk to, by all means, put them in the chat. We will talk to them. Otherwise, just kind of watch the trade here. It's settled down nicely. The book is still really thin. There's no major liquidity anywhere near the trade here, but and it's sweeping back and forth pretty quick because of that whenever anybody puts out any sort of size. But it's predictably traded off the low now. I mean, look at that. That was a really beautiful high volume reversal there. So, that was a good spot. A couple of good trades in there both ways. And a really good example of how, people say never trade the economic news or, FOMC. Bullshit, nonsense. You just have to be really clear about, what you're going to do at certain places and then do it and not get caught up in fear and greed and forget leaving money on the table and nonsense like that, and go in with a very tight plan and execute against the momentum or execute with the momentum. And, the odds become overwhelmingly good for you because there's such good action. If you're wrong, it's really obvious, really fast. And, that first trade I did that we made the 80 ticks on, I mean, we were in it for 29 seconds. That's the way to pull $1,000 out of the market quickly. The less time you're in a trade, the less time you're at risk. Forget, this leaving money on the table crap, particularly in this action. But I see some people saying that on Facebook trading groups all the time. And that's just such crap. There's no leaving money on the table. If you had a good trade and you executed to the plan, then you did it right. Forget what the result of the trade was. That's a really bad idea to think that way. Get good at the process and the results will take care of themselves. So we're right on the VWAP, which is also right on the POC, so by definition, we are at value right here at, call it 75-ish. And again, if you're looking at that in a footprint view, we're just smack dab in the middle of the regular trading session, and that's right back at the top of the Globex session, the overnight, which, again, this is where all the volume was, and it remains there. So real easy to interpret this as the market has more or less finished price discovery, but because it's so illiquid, we're still getting really big sweeps. There was just a 20-tick sweep both ways in 5 seconds. So, that's really hard to manage against. You just, you could have a really profitable trade and you can't get out with your profits fast enough. Even brackets sometimes don't work because it'll trade right by them, You'll end up with a lot of slippage. So, this is a good time to sit on hands. And I don't watch the press conferences. I don't watch any financial TV. But we'll see the reaction to questions and comments as the trade continues. Again, that'll start in about 10 minutes or so. So that will be the next material thing we will be doing. Horseshoes, hand grenades, and the FOMC. Yep. Oh, this tastes good. I have a chocolate mushroom coffee going. Those 4 Sigma coffee pods that have the various mushrooms in them. This is the Think one. 1 cup and I'm an instant genius. That's what it says on the label.
Did it work?
Oh, yes, it works all the time. And can't you tell? Listen to me. I mean, those of you in the audience are just overwhelmed by the genius of my comments. I can just tell. I can see it in your faces. It's good stuff. It's what I like to mix up my stimulants and my coffees. So this is a good midday, and it's really late in the day for me. I started trading at about 1 a.m. my time, and now it's almost noon, so it's been almost a 12-hour day already. Didn't get a chance to take my usual old person nap in the middle of the morning because I was doing something else. So this is a really interesting setup we have here right now, because it's very unusual for this is usual what just happened, that we extend the range in both directions, we explore both directions, and we settle down somewhat in the middle before the press conference. Very, very typical behavior. And that is what I'd expect to see between now and when it actually starts. Now, once it starts, really important, everything we see that's already happened is off the table, and it's a whole new set of price discovery, because this is priced in already. And so what happens is, as he says stuff, it gets priced in again. And so you're going to see the volatility get crazy again. And so do not make this mistake of, thinking of the extremes and the action we've already seen as still being in play once the press conference starts. It's a whole new set of information. So the market will very often run right over old inflection points, even old being 15 minutes ago. So, don't get too bold. Don't say, oh, well, if it gets back up to 3,800, I'm shorting it. It might go to 3,800 and then go to 3,850 without even taking a break. And so, just don't assume anything, trade what's happening, have a good plan. If whatever your trade idea is, if you're wrong, what are you going to do and where are you going to do it? With action this fast, you can't stop and think about, well, see what happens when it gets there. Wrong answer. The right answer is, I know what I'm going to do immediately when I put the trade on. If this happens, I'm doing this. If that happens, I'm doing that. And that's my risk plan. I'm not going to wait and see. There's no wait and see when we have this kind of action. Your brain doesn't work fast enough. Just the lag it takes to get your order to the exchange wherever you are. Just that little bit of latency can cost you a lot of money in this set of circumstances. And whatever, even if you have rocket fast connection, like right from here, I'm like on 16 milliseconds. And even with that, as a human, there's 100 milliseconds at least before I react, probably more like 2. So, it's probably a good half a second when you put it all together. And, that's just way too long when we're seeing, I just showed an example where in a half a second, we went 18 ticks in each direction. We went up 18 and then down 18. And that was in the both of the momentum tails were still, the blue and the kind of orange-red momentum tail were still there, and those reset every 50 milliseconds. So, 500 milliseconds rather. So that literally happened both ways in less than a second, in roughly a half a second. And, again, so just think about that, that you even if you're making the right decision, the lag could kill you. So you really have to have those things well planned in advance. And ideally, you get a trade on and it gets going the way you want, and you don't have to worry about a target. There's enough momentum, you can just protect it like I did on that example that I showed, and you just kind of let it go until the momentum dies out and you take profits. That way you're not kind of preconceived notioning it. But the second one I did with the target was because the conditions were not even close to that I would likely get a runner. I was just looking to grab 8 ticks fast, and I did. And again, don't confuse your mind. Which is it you're doing? Don't let one try to turn into the other. It doesn't work like that. You don't think that fast, even if you think you do. I think it's fast.
Try to get runners. If you get it,
no, exactly. Exactly. You get them or you don't. And you saw how I got that one. It was just sheer luck, and you just take advantage of it. That's such a good point. Yeah. You can't try to get them. Yep, you just got to get good at, I have among the fastest reactions to this stuff of anybody I know, despite the fact I'm an old fart. And mine aren't even close to fast enough. So, a video game guy, one of the people I coach, his are at least 3 times faster than mine. And he'll tell you his aren't fast enough for this. He's scalping NQ right now. He's really insane. He loves to do that. And he does it really well. That's something I can scalp NQ under normal conditions, but when it's moving this much, look at that back and forth. This is the NQ dome here to the left of the liquidity map. And this one where my mouse is. And the guy I'm talking about scalps this. It's really the only instrument he trades. And with some fairly good size too. And a ridiculously low MAE over time. And even, trade by trade, it's really interesting how, it seems almost impossible what he does to me. But then people tell me watching me that, well, that looks like that to me, what you do. And, then I think, well, I'm watching, Max Verstappen or Charles Leclerc driving a Formula One car. And I'm like, yeah, all right. Yeah. You got to just understand there's levels in the world of skill. And, you want to get to one that's profitable in one instrument that you can just do over and over again. That's really the game. You can always grow from there and do other stuff, but that's really what it's all about. Hey, TRG people, there's I'm just kind of teasing this. We have a really good question for Q&A for Tuesday's Q&A session coming up. And because isn't Monday a holiday also, JVC?
It is. Market is closed on Monday.
Yeah, it's a short session for the futures and the stocks are closed. So that's even better because we're doing the Ides of Monday on Tuesday. And so that'll be nice. The Q&A session for TRG members will be at the usual 9 a.m. my time on Tuesday. And we have a really good question about micros versus minis under what conditions and when is it better to spend a little more on the commissions for a little less risk, which is what it amounts to in the micros. And that's a really good question. And there's no simple answer. It's one of those ones where, you really have to understand the context of the current conditions to make a good decision about that and understand the framework you're trying to make it in. And so that's what the topic will be. It'll be a really good session. So that's coming up on Tuesday. Okay. So Summer, there she is. Hello. How are you? Good to see
Speaking of
you.
crazy people who like to scalp NQ.
Yeah, exactly. Speaking of the Gobi Desert, exactly right. I see some other names that are, I see some TRG people we haven't seen in a little while. I know Heidi's been really busy with work. I see she's here. Hello, Heidi. And I saw
She
Donna.
is. Hello, Heidi.
Yeah, Donna's here. I haven't
She
seen
snuck
Donna
in. Awesome.
recently. It's nice to have some of you visiting. Definitely interesting conditions. Yeah. Hey, you know what? That's better than, losing any money. You make any, that's a good day. I consider a day where, it's a rounding error in my account, whatever that number is, of, losing it or making money is a rounding error. I consider that a great day. And then if there's any profits, that's a really great day. And then I don't, the profits take care of themselves. But, there's a lot of days where I will, go in and make money and lose money and get beat up. And, in the end of the day, I come out after commissions, like what you just said, Summer, I've got $5. And those are some of the best education and practical experience days I've ever had, even though the P&L doesn't represent it. And that's why, don't result your P&L, trade your process. And then the rest literally takes care of itself. And, most new people don't have the patience to really understand that or listen to that, but that is so important. And I know you're one of the people doing it. So that's awesome.
Oil just decided it was time to fall apart. Bottom just fell right out.
Hang on a second. I have that running over in my Thinkorswim as well, where I showed you guys the internals. So let me bring it over here. We can have a look. Oh, wow. It fell out of bed completely, didn't it?
Yeah. All of a sudden, just blam.
Yeah. That's something, something in their announcement or something in the oil market. Do we have any oil numbers coming out this afternoon? I don't think so now.
It's inventory day. So yes.
Yeah, but that's already out, isn't it?
Oh, is it? I don't even pay attention. I don't know.
Hang on. I have those filtered out right now on my news because I'm not trading oil. Let me scroll through and look. Yeah, the inventory was earlier. It was this morning.
Oh, okay. So yeah, it's long gone.
So it's long out. So that's not what this is. This must be somebody reaction
got spooked
to something. Yeah. Or you know what? This market has been so crazy. Oil. It's the far left over here. It's been so crazy. That could just be, there's a lot of people that, we get anywhere near 120. A lot of people sell lots of contracts because, 100 to 100, 120 to 130 is real hardcore, resistance, for a lack of a better word at the moment. Clearly it's a fundamental level. And so the other thing is at some point when we get up this high, the frackers who have stopped adding fracking, they've been tuning down the fracking for the last 3 years, might, say, hey, it's time to get back in. There's money to be made, and that would change the equation completely. One of the reasons the supply is down is fracking, which I'm not a huge fan of, but it produces cheap and it just hasn't been a lot of it. They're having trouble getting materials as well. The sand they use for fracking is apparently in short supply and yada, yada, yada. So anyway.
These prices, I can't imagine anyone wouldn't be profitable producing oil right now.
Yeah, the problem is that they're profitable on a barrel by barrel basis, but it's the capital cost to start up.
Yeah. Oh, for startup. Yeah. If you're from zero, forget it. No way.
Yeah. Or even if you have, let's say you have an active fracking well, just to decide to get it going and extract some more, there's a lot of labor and a lot of materials and then it pays off immensely. So,
right.
It's
you got to
get
space. To that point.
You got to get to it. Yeah. That guy that I've told you guys about before, that one of my business partners, he owns a bunch of an oil field in Texas, and it's both a fracking. It's right in the middle of fracking central there on that Permian basin stuff, and then on top of that, he's got some regular oil wells there too, and he just started with the wells repumping, and and he's profitable. Most producers like that are profitable. Anything above $50, they're really profitable, and the Saudis, it's like $80, and we're way above that too, and so, the capital costs get real easy to amortize when you get to that point. But a lot of these guys are, first of all, they're making record profits, just, gouging the distillate market like gasoline. Yep. We've seen that. And so they really don't have an incentive, all these people screaming about, Biden's responsible for gas prices. No, the oil market is much more complicated than who's president. And that's the piece of it right there. They just don't have an incentive. They're making a fortune just distilling at this price, and they're getting away with it. So why invest in all that new capacity? Anyway, look at this. We're back down at the bottom of the range. So now this is getting interesting again. The conference just started, so I don't want to get too aggressive, but this is an interesting spot to play. There we go. There's a sweep down. Sweep downs are always interesting to nibble on, particularly if it looks like somebody's showing up to buy there. And right now they are. It's just not holding. So let's watch this low. They got some more stops down there. Yeah. So I was about to say that's a good spot to nibble long. I just didn't get over there fast enough. Maybe I will on this shot. You kind of let it blow the low and then, see if you can catch a fill here. You could even do 2-lot. Put one on here and then try to get another one, or just take profits on this one. Like, I missed by a tick again. Let's take it there. All right. I was trying to get 10 ticks. I took 8 ticks. So, that's a really good spot. Again, it has to, the momentum going down or going up has to pause at least. And then you have to look at the action. Okay, this low should take out now. And I'm probably right on a good spot there to get a fill when it blows the low. So let's see what. Oh, right there. Okay, we got it. Now let's just throw up like a $250 target or something. See if we can catch a pop back. If if the bottom falls out, I'll get out of the way. But I'm also going to take profits pretty fast here if it stalls. So, let's just go for a $100 bill. Those are always fun. So this is worth adding to as long as they keep buying here. But another push down would be nice. Whatever's being said in the conference is a little scary, but there's buyers here. And I've got plenty of profit to play with here. We're up about $1,400 so far. So let's make that one like right there, just under 35. And that's pushing down pretty aggressively here. We took that low out pretty aggressively. We're running stops big time on the way down. So I'm going to give this one a little bit more room, just like I'm doing, but I'm going to start taking profits pretty fast here. And if the bottom completely falls out, I might get out of the way, but it doesn't look like that's what's happening here. Okay, that's a good push down. Let's see. Don't want to add to this anymore, even though that would make it really nice. I really want to see it get back up into this volume up here. So I'm going to just give this a little room. And again, this is just a really good example of how, you can play these, but you got to be willing to take a little heat and scale when it's appropriate. I could have added one there. I'm just trying to show really conservative. There we go. We got that one. I'm going to go ahead and take them both off up here for 200. And that's fine. Okay. So there's a good example of two things. Number one, you initially can get run over if you're in the right spot for, an additional one, or you let it get run over and then come to you, you can manage the risk. And that one, the risk never got unreasonable. Because, I was still seeing the buying action that I wanted to see. If that stopped, I would have just gone ahead and taken the loss, which, the worse that got from a dollar point of view, MAE got a little far. It got around 22. And that put it at around $700 there. So again, I was playing with some of my profits from the last trade because it looked like a good idea. And I wanted to show specifically there, can I do that with a 2-lot? Because, if you're off sides and you can't get close to profitable with a 2, it's tricky to go much bigger than that. You start getting, 2 lots is $100 a point. That can, you can end up with a lot of risk in dollar terms, and particularly, when the market's moving around. So that's kind of just a general guideline I use. I'll explain that more when we have the session next Tuesday. But it's kind of like the one I use when I'm using the micro as kind of like an option. I say, for, a few micros, I'll give it $100. I'm not really looking at ticks. I'm putting a monetary label on it. Well, with the mini, you can't really do that because it just, it's too much money. No matter how big your account is, you just don't want to be stupid and drop $2,000 scaling into something at the wrong time. So the trick is to really be sensitive to the short-term order flow like this here, and have a really good plan. And if you're going to scale in, you've got, for that to work. This is the dichotomy of scaling into a trade like that at a good area. If you're going to do it, the second contract has to be far enough away from the entry of the first one to make scaling in help, get you into the whole idea at a good balance. And so you have to take some heat before you scale in. If you go upside down and you immediately say, I'm going to scale into that, you're going to end up way too big for the conditions. But if you say, all right, if it blows that low, I'm going to enter in, let it come to me like I did on the first contract. And then, it bounced a little bit. I didn't get out on the bounce. And then it started selling down again, but the buyers were still there. It went a little lower, put another one on. And, at that spot, it's just a really, particularly when you're seeing like we did, zero prints, lots of aggression, sweeping down, there were stops at the bottom. Those are just like all factors that say, that's the right way to play that. If you can be patient enough where you choose to, add the second one, that, and subsequently, whatever additional ones, if the conditions weren't as crazy as this, I might do that with up to say 4, but I'm not just going to put on 1 and then put on 3 more right away. I'm thinking, how bad could that get from the point of view of the inflection point? We were trading like right around the 2024 range right there. This spot was 23.75. So, my thought as that was happening was, okay, looking at the TPO view, and this is it over here, that's right at the volume on what has been our reversal day so far, which was, this is the overnight and this was yesterday. And so again, that's the bottom of the initial balance and it's the point of control. And that's exactly where this move down stalled out at. So when that happens, that's just really ripe for scalping the other way and for fading that. And, that's what it looks like when it's happening, that the delta rolls over at, a pretty clear spot. So, that's why scaling there didn't really scare me. And again, I didn't add down there, I added in here and I was tempted to add more, but I wanted to show you guys that kind of thing works if you're patient and you've already figured out the math. The place you get in trouble doing that is when you try to wing it with the math as it's happening. Well, how many should I add? Where should I add them? You have to really have that figured out in advance. And that's something I'm good at, having done this a lot. Whoa, look at that. Something just happened they like. Look at that. Whatever that answer was, the market likes that one. Oh, hello. Man.
Yowza.
Look at these sweeps, guys. This is 20 points of sweeping going on in 500 milliseconds. Literally not tradable. Forget it. That's price discovery at its finest, but it's really fun to watch. And if you don't have a dome running or, a fast footprint, if you're just watching a chart, even a 15-second chart, it doesn't look all that dramatic unless you're really seeing, the action back and forth and the high volume nodes and as it's playing out. This is pretty cool to watch. Obviously, I'm not going to try to play here anymore. I already got a nice profit and showed some good examples. So, okay, let's see. Oh gosh, crypto? No way. I think a lot of the cryptos could go to zero, Amy. I don't think that's over at all. Am I trading full size? I was trading the minis. Summer, yes. It's funny how old I am when you say full size. Yeah, and then
you're thinking the S&P.
I'm thinking the SP. That's the old full-size contract that was $250 a point. It was 5 times the size of a mini. And I used to trade those, and you had to. They were only traded in the pit. You had to call your orders in. So,
you had to be bonded and stuff, didn't you?
Oh yeah. You had to. The only way you could trade was you had to open an account with with your broker, and typically what you did was you put up $100,000 T-bill or T-bond. That was your collateral, and you could trade a 1 lot with that. Maybe a 2 lot if you had really good credit. So, yeah, often, something would happen and, I'd pick up the phone and I'd call my broker and he'd get to the guy on the floor. It could be 90 seconds before your order even got to the floor, let alone, got to the pit and got traded. So, yeah, it was a different world. And the commissions were huge. Hundreds of dollars each side. Anyway, okay. Yes, this is definitely bipolar action. It is. Okay, so I'm looking to see. Is that what it was? He released some more oil from the Strategic Petroleum Reserve. Yeah, that'll always temporarily impact price. But that's also a red herring. It's not as significant as the press makes it out. And again, this market is being driven by much larger forces, fundamental buyers. And look at, for example, here's one example. I have a friend who is no longer, but he used to be. He trades for himself right now, but he used to be a trader for one of the airlines. They have to hedge their airline fuel in the futures market all the time, and there's a variety of ways they do that. And he used to be an in-house trader for one of the major airlines, and his job was interfacing with all the other little brokers and putting on the hedging positions they needed to. Whoa, look at this. Hello.
Below the top. Yeah, there it goes.
5 again. And yes, we just blew both ends of the range again, just in that short of time. Wow. Hang on one second. I have to go look at something else real quick here. My ETFs. I might want to take some ETF profits here. I've got some triple ETFs running. So let me throw that up for a minute on my other screen and see if it's a good spot to take some off, because I've got massive profits over there. I'm in the triple long ETFs, and I bought them on the low. I was already in them, and I tripled the position on the low yesterday. So, they look very sweet. Okay, yeah. You know what? This looks like it could have some more energy, though. I'm going to leave them. I think I'm going to leave them on. Yeah, since the press conference, they're up 2% to the ETFs that I cover. I mean, and that literally, within the day, there's money flowing into the triple ETFs. I can see it. So that they're worth sitting in. Those of you that are playing that, I know some of you are. Look at this, 10. Yeah, we've got some upside here. We could see a massive short squeeze. Ooh, this could get fun. Let's go back to trading. Look at that
aggression.
Yeah, look at this aggression. Let's go back to trading this. I just don't want to join it willy-nilly. When it's this aggressive, again, it's extended the range so far. Just the last thing you want to do is try to short this. You could catch a nice scalp up here, but if we really get a squeeze going, look at my linear regression here. It literally will just never look back if we get a bona fide short squeeze. And we could, we're right on the level where I'd expect, again, look at the TPO. We're just breaking out of that dip. And it will become an island reversal if we basically get above this gap right here, right there, which is what, about 38.50, 60? So, then it's an island, a really bullish island reversal. If you don't know what that is, Google it. Bullish island reversal pattern. So again, I'd be really careful shorting this. You could definitely do it for ticks like I was doing at the other end. But, when the momentum is this strong, I'd be in a market that's been down for days. I mean, again, referring you back to my internals view here. I just blew it up. I just wanted to drag it over here. We've had really aggressive sell-offs for days. It's really impacted the advanced decline and whatnot. There's a lot of shorts that need to get out of the way here. So this could continue for quite some time. I mean, the tick is 1,000, the advanced decline's plus 1,500. We're taking out stops over and over here. Let's put on the footprint. I've got coffee in one hand and my mouse in the other hand, so I'm not going to trade this long. I'm just going to talk about it, but it's clearly, a momentum long here. And
what's your third hand doing?
Yeah, exactly. It's watching porn on my other monitor. So,
of course.
Okay, yeah. See, so we got some stops at the top of that, but we're getting price rejectors on the pullback. So, clearly we may not be done yet. And, it's clearly we're seeing stops up there and not price rejectors. So, the potential to continue to stop out shorts goes on for a long time. As Amy said in our last session, until they stop trying to short it. And right now, there's no evidence of that. So be very careful. I would be playing this long or I wouldn't be playing it. That's my advice to you. Okay. One hand in my pocket. Yes, that's kind of what I was referring to. All right. Yes. Definitely, I hope you can join us for that session Tuesday somewhere. We're going to talk about scaling and micros and minis. A lot of you have asked me in various places about those, and so those questions. And so I really want to spend some time on that. It was a really good idea that Maria suggested it for a Q&A. So anyway, well, I'm glad I didn't close out my ETF a minute ago. It certainly, is continuing the momentum. So staying in the 3x longs makes a lot of sense. Certainly, again, let's see if I can maximize this. Where's that maximize button? There it is. So this is the TPO view. And again, let me just crunch it a bit. So if we got above this spot right here, that's where this low becomes an island reversal. If we get above this breakdown gap here, and that's really likely to happen. We're already in that volume profile right now. We've taken out all the others. So, if we get up in here, into the 3900s, it's a bullish island reversal. And you could see a lot of people come into the market on that, the technical analysis people in particular. So I'm going to hang on to my 3Xs. I certainly think it's possible to get back up to this last range, and that's 4,100. That would be a really nice little bounce to have captured.
I just got another 100 ticks off that push up.
Good job. Yeah, if I wasn't teaching, I'd be all over trading this.
Yeah, this is nuts.
It's great stuff. But yeah, I've made that mistake before. I even have a big sign on my desk that says, Jeff, teach or trade. Don't try to do both, with any sort of scale, because it's just, I'm asking for trouble. Let's restore that. And then I want to restore it down. There we go. Okay, now let's put it back so we can watch it. All right. Yeah, that was a nice sweep down. Look at that puppy. Wow. Yeah, I'm actually glad I'm not trading this, because I've kind of, like I said, I had a good day and I don't want to just stress myself more chasing this around. But you could be making some really good money, particularly if you're in a other person's money account, like, an eval or a funded account with one of the, the funding firms. This would be a really fun set of conditions to play with without really risking your own money. Because if you're a decent trader, you can have multi-$1,000 days easily in this action, as long as you keep your head. All right, give me a second here. I've got to do something else real fast here, and then I'll be back with what we're doing. Got to take care of one more bit of personal business. If you have any questions or comments, by all means, get them up in the chat, and we will endeavor to answer them.
As ever, endeavor.
That's right. Wow, rocking and rolling here. This is pretty crazy. Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to leave that up. Let me put this back so you guys can watch what's happening. Let's see. What do we want to do over here? Yeah. Okay. It really is weird when you're dealing with people in email, and you'd think in this day and age, even if they're old, that they would understand more or less how an email conversation works. Fragmented sentences, not having to use lots of words. But this one person that I deal with, it's kind of a friend, but I kind of do business with them, and I get a book every time there's an email. And it's like, and the gist of it is, four words, 4 keywords. And I always feel bad because my responses are nothing like that. I just say, there'll be 4 questions. I'll say number 1, yes. Number 2, maybe. Number 3, Friday. Number 4, 7 o'clock. And it's literally 500 words I'm responding to. And this person doesn't text, and now I get why he doesn't text.
That was my thought. Was like, that's what texts are for. Is the really short
exactly.
stuff.
I've tried, and what happens is I'll get an email response to my text, so I give up on it. Yeah, he just doesn't like the medium. He's still trying to be one of those people. A lot of older people think this way, that wants to be anonymous on the internet. And I've tried to explain, how that really
doesn't work that way. Yeah.
Yeah. And I've showed him the dark web and how that works. And, even if you do that, you need top-notch skills, and,
Yep.
They know who you are anyway, and they know what you're doing anyway. Just, resistance is futile.
Yep, there is no privacy anymore. Sorry.
No, yeah, and for a lot of people, that's just really difficult to wrap their brain around. That's that's the way it is. But but if you truly understand the technology, there's no way it's not. Unless you don't buy anything online, you don't use Amazon. I mean, literally, you could, if you're totally off the grid, and he lives off the grid, but he still can goes to Costco and whatnot. I'm like, you think they don't know what you buy at Costco?
Yep. It blows my mind that people actually think, what they send someone in email is like peer to peer, just between the two of them.
Right.
Like, no, it touches like hundreds of servers along the way, and there's a copy of it at every single one of them that any admin on that server can read.
Yeah.
Don't send your credit card numbers or your social or like anything at all private in an email ever.
Yeah. Even if you use Tricks, or PGP or any of those things, it's still.
They still have it.
Yeah, I had a friend that was trying to run a hedge fund, and they were trying to use, and this is back in the day when these were, POP or something similar services like, Live Mail or Live.com, Microsoft Live and stuff like that. And he was, while they were setting up, he was having all these conversations through that. And I was like, you realize that's like totally not secure. And, and he's like, well, we're using this and that. And I was like, no, it's totally not either. And when you hire your tech person for your fund, you'll realize, you have to really make that, particularly for managing money, it has to be so secure.
God, yes.
And, it's funny. I spoke to him like later on, after he'd had some, had filled that job out. And it was pretty funny that, well, you weren't kidding, were you? No, I wasn't.
Believe it or not.
Okay, so it's quieting down. This is why generally about an hour for this session, and we're right on that right now. After that, sometimes there's more stuff, but the Q&A is already happening or happened, and everybody's read the release and it's explored both ends of the range. Couldn't have asked for much better action today. I mean, this is about as good as it gets. Range extension both ways here. I'm going to crush the footprint down so you guys can see what all happened. So here, let me just get that pass. So, just in this one period, we've explored the high, we've explored the low, and we've totally, this is the overnight, we've totally overrun the low of the overnight, which was right there, and the high of the overnight. And we've got a reasonable symmetry again here. That's a big high volume node. It's right in the middle. It's on the high volume node for overnight. Guess what? Price discovery has once again established more or less, value. And so that's a good time to stop looking for trades, because the low hanging fruit hath been picked at this point. And now, you could still scalp for ticks, but it's just way too sweepy to even try that. So I'd be winding it up if I were me. So we're going to wind up the session. Thank you everybody for coming. If there's any final questions or comments, now is your chance. So put them in the chat if you have them. Otherwise, we appreciate you guys all coming. Guests, thank you for coming. It's always nice to see you. TRG people, let's see. Tomorrow we have normal live trading on Thursday. And look for that pattern. Today is not a move one direction. We're just kind of going back and forth. But, look for a reversal of whatever pattern we established today. That's very common. So we might see that. And then my next live session is the morning on Friday for TRG members. And I will be doing, it's quad witching on Friday also. So that doesn't get much better. So definitely
try to do any sort of Friday close crazy thing.
I might. What I'm going to do is I'm going to do the regular live session and see how that goes. It's the 6 to 7:30 my time. And then depending on the turnout for that and what kind of a witching day we get, I might add a live at the close for it, because the close on that Friday after a week like this with all of those, trillion record number trillions of options expiring and yada yada. I mean, it's going to be a crazy day. And clearly today is a really good example of it. We now have, let's see, the range today is now 106 points. So, 106 handles. And so 400 and something, ticks and change. That's a huge range. And, that just gives you so much opportunity. And that's very likely Friday. But I also have a potential personal conflict, JVC, so I won't know till Friday. That's why I'm hedging it a bit. Anyway, that's what's up, everybody. One more reminder again, we will do normal Sunday reopen for TRG. Monday, Ides of Monday is on Tuesday next week because of the holiday. And we will also have that special live Q&A session on micro versus mini, pros and cons. So we'll see you guys for all that stuff. I look at this momentum again. It just blasts off for no reason. And it's just crazy.
Yeah, it's wild.
It's wild. Look at that. All right. Well, anyway, this was a lot of fun. I thank you all for coming. And we'll see you tomorrow morning. Big horse show. Oh, awesome. Yeah, I love watching horses. My friend Sue is really getting into her horses now that she retired. And they're magnificent creatures. All of the creatures are magnificent. The only fucked up creatures, pardon my language, is us. Yeah, we're the 100%.
We are us, and the earth is a very
serene spot. Yep. Give it back to the cats and dogs and the birds and the bees and the horses, and everything was fine until we showed up.
Absolutely.
All right. Yes, please do, Amy. I'd love to see a video. Always.
Cool.
All right, guys. Thank you, JVC. Thank you, everybody. Yep. We'll see you later.
I'll get the recording up as soon as I can.
Yes, thank you. As you usually do, it will be lightning speed, I'm sure.
All right. Catch y'all later.
Bye-bye.